might be a long one. Hey guys, it's Reagan, and today I am doing a pretty highly requested video, and one that I always love to do, especially for this series, and that is going to be a non-spoiler review and then followed by a spoiler discussion of Sarah J. Maas's new novel, Queen of Shadows. So this video might be a long one because I am having like an internal struggle about this book, which I will get more into and also in more detail later in this video. But yeah, so basically I'm really wanting to make this video because I also really want to know what you guys think, so please discuss with me down in the comments and discuss with each other, because I don't know, I feel like there are very much two camps in this book and I am like I'm skittering back and forth to each one. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started with the non-spoiler review. So, Queen of Shadows is the fourth book in the Throne of Glass series, and I will say when I completed reading it, I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars, hands down, was my favorite one of the series so far. It was a fantastic book. But then I started reflecting a little bit and I kind of got confused, a little muddled. And it wasn't because this book wasn't amazing. This book was absolutely amazing, but I was kind of confused how this book stood with the rest of the series. What that means is there were some storylines and some plot points and some character developments done in the first 2 books that were kind of basically killed in this book. And what I mean by that, obviously in this book there was some amazing character development, and I don't want what I'm about to say to be confused with character development, but essentially I felt like there were some plot lines in this series that were either forgotten or immediately killed, and it kind of didn't make sense in the concept of the whole series. Specifically, I will say, like, the character of Kale I felt like was weirdly developed in the last 2 books and then completely transformed within this book, which kind of bothered me a little bit. And then also another character that kind of bothered me was the character of Rowan. I felt like his development was also a little bizarre. But, you know, obviously read it and decide for yourself. The plot, however, I thought was really, really amazing. The story has expanded so much from the first book. Everything gets so much more complex and more political, and basically at the end of Heir of Fire we see a lot of potential. A huge landscape is opened up for us, and there's gonna be, and you have a feeling that a lot of action is about to happen. And finally in this book we begin to see some of that action take place and some alliances start to form and break, and it made this novel super interesting. Now I will discuss my 2 favorite storylines quickly in a non-spoiler fashion. First off, I thought the character Dorian was really interesting, and he has a very small part in this novel. When you read it you'll understand why, but he still greatly intrigued me and I really, really liked it. As well as the Manon chapters, that character continued to impress me. I loved her in Heir of Fire. I thought the witch chapters were super interesting, and I continued to thought those were really interesting in this book. I know that's a little bit, not controversial, but a lot of people find those chapters boring. Not me. I love them. A note for people quickly who recently watched my wrap-up when I said you can read The Assassin's Blade whenever you want within the series, it's not really important. Well, now I take it back and say read it before Queen of Shadows, because there are a lot of references that are made in that book that are then made again in Queen of Shadows. So for you to completely get the complexity of the story, I think it's really important that you do read Assassin's Blade. Overall, I thought this was a really, really great book to continue on the series. I'm still kind of torn how I feel about some of the character development, which I will discuss more thoroughly in my spoiler section. I just didn't want to spoil anyone who hasn't read the book yet, obviously. But yeah, I ended up giving this 5 out of 5 stars when I finished reading, and I don't know if I'm going to change my rating. I don't know. I'm still very much confused about it, but I loved the book regardless. Standalone, separate, without reflecting, I really, really enjoyed this book. It's just amazing. Sarah J. Maas's plot, characters, writing have all gotten more complex as the series has gone on, and perhaps that is why there was some muddling from the first 2 books. But anyway, that's my non-spoiler review. It was great. Please pick up this series if you haven't. It's quite enjoyable. But now we're going to move on to the spoiler discussion. So if you have not read this book, do not watch this part unless you want to be spoiled for basically everything. So spoiler discussion time. The main topic I really want to talk about is the concept of, was this character development or was this like a whole new reboot of a character? Because in some instances I felt like it was a lot of character development, and then sometimes I was like, but what? Starting off, the character Selena Seridathian, or should we say Alan Galliganafakis, That's not how you say her last name. So at the start of this book, she starts going by her real name, which threw me off for like a second, I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, no, but your name's Selena. But I totally understand why she switched her names. Obviously, at the end of Heir of Fire, she kind of found herself, accepted her legacy, where she's come from, her power, her personality. So I feel like the character change of Elena, not only changing her name, but throughout the novel, makes sense because she's basically decided to be her woman. She shed the mask of Selena Saradathian and all of the weaknesses and stuff like that that comes with her past. She's decided to embrace her future. So that being said, I felt like the character Elaine was really, really interesting in this book. I thought she was really strong. She still had the same quirky, funny, sarcastic nature that we're used to seeing in Selena, but she's much stronger and definitely a new character, which made a lot of sense. Now on the flip side of this, there are some characters where I was like, what? And specifically, I'm going to talk about Chaol. I feel like this book was the death of Chaol and his character. Basically, I'm just a little confused because in the first two books, he, you know, had his issues. Like, he was the King's Guard, strong, powerful, protected Selena. But now they, like, both hate each other going into this book. Like, literally, they hate each other. And at the last time they saw each other, Selena was like, I'll always choose you. But then she was like, nah, never mind, I hate you now. And he was like, ah, that bitch, I hate her now too. And I feel like there was just something lost there that I didn't totally get, because I felt like the statements made in the first two books and the feelings discussed in the first two books were so easily buried over in the sand in the last two books. Don't get me wrong, I totally understand people loving and then moving on, but I felt like it seemed sudden and without a lot of explanation, which kind of bothered me. But I'm also torn. I'm torn because the character of Chaol in Queen of Shadows I really liked, right? Like, I thought he was really interesting, complex, and he was a very interesting counter to Selena's character, which I liked. So, like, I'm just torn about the whole thing, and I'm just kind of like, Another thing that I'm a little like on. So the character of Rowan I absolutely loved in Heir of Fire. I really liked his relationship with Selena, or Aelin, I don't know how to say her name. I really liked their friendship, kind of comrade relationship. But then all of a sudden in this book, now they've been secretly in love with each other this whole time. I don't know. I like them. I don't care who Selena ends up with. She can end up with whomever she wants. That's not the point here. But I found the romance to seem to appear a little bit out of nowhere. I was like, oh, they're in love with each other? And in a lot of ways, their relationship resembles Chaol and Selena's relationships in book 1 and 2. You know, like moody, kind of guard that's gonna protect her, but like better looking and now a Fae warrior. Like, they kind of are very similar characters in that way, so I guess it makes sense that Selena or Aline would fall for him, but that part of the relationship a little bit confused me. So yeah, those are the elements of the character development I'm like a little torn on. I don't really know how I feel about the character of Chaol, also Rowan and her relationship that's obviously starting, but obviously I like the direction of Aline as she's trying to just figure out her life, her kingdom, and lead people. I really, really like where she's going, so I really enjoyed that. Other things I want to talk about, can we just talk about the overall like plot development of this book series? It's kind of insane. Like, if you really think about how big the world has gotten, the plot of the first two books are almost null and not important. They are important in their own ways because they kind of progress the plot forward and give us information that we need, but like, look at Selena Saradathian, the King's Champion, compared to Aelian Galanatha, Queen of Terran. You know what I mean? Like, they're so different and the plots have developed so much. It's insane. And even look at our main villain. He's been completely transformed now. Like, in the first book, the king was the ultimate villain, but then we find out at the end of this that, hold up, no, sorry, you were wrong the whole time. Like, totally mind blown. And that's why I love this series so much, because I feel like the plot is continuously progressing and building and becoming more complex in every book series. It's so good. Now we're gonna move on to my favorite plot point / my fan prediction that I hope happens point. But yeah. So we're gonna talk about the Manon chapters and the Dorian chapters. So Manon is the head of the Witch Clan, as you know. I love those chapters. I love going to that creepy castle, like not really getting what's going on. And I love the character of Manon, who's like very like in her traditions, like been a witch for a long time, super powerful, struggling with taking orders from humans, but then still being true to her clan and her heritage, but then also slowly becoming more human throughout the book. And more human, not weaker, but just more open to emotions and what other people think. It's just such an interesting character arc and character development that I just love. Like that scene where she flew back to the kingdom and was like, witch killer, he's still in there. And I was like, yeah. That coupled with Dorian's storyline, the whole book, obviously he's had like a demon prince stuck inside of him, which is like shitty. Sorry, Dorian, that's unfortunate. But then, you know, obviously we cut to him and sometimes he has a glimpse of getting his life back. But then when he meets Manon, all of a sudden he's like, can regain some of his consciousness, which what is up with that? I cannot wait till that's more explained. So obviously it has something to do with Manon's gold eyes and I don't know. But the other thing I want to say about that, who here hopes that that's gonna be a thing? Because holy crap, I ship Dorian and Manon more than most people probably will, but that is a real thing that I ship and I want it to happen. Real talk. Some other storylines I thought were really interesting besides like the obvious main thread was the resurrection of Lysandra. I thought that was so good. Oh, I love that. I love that for a couple reasons. One, she's a badass and she's had struggles in her life different from Selena, but something, or Aline, but something that they can definitely relate to each other. And then it just brings another female friend into Aline's life. Like it's been so long that it feels like that she's had like female companionship to lean on since Nehema, and I'm just really happy that's a real thing and I'm really just grooving and moving about it. I really like it. I'm just like, yes, please, thank you. Now my favorite scene of the book, and then I'll end it here and then I will open up the discussion below about what you guys think about kind of the transition this book made for a lot of the characters. So I had quite a few. There's a lot, like I said, my favorite parts of the book were always in that tower with Manon and what was going on politically there and just mysteriously there. But my favorite scene is when Kaltain like freaking owned it, right? Can we talk about her character from the first and second book being like basically a drunk alcoholic princess that hated Selena, and now she's basically had a demon prince in her that she freaking defeated and then just decided to burn the whole place down with her shadow fire? Like, what? She's so cool, and I'm hoping she's not dead. I'm hoping that she's really powerful, has a lot of magic in her, that she can literally rise from the ashes like a phoenix. But yeah, like I mentioned in my non-spoiler review, overall I thought this book was really, really great. I am torn on some of the developments of some of the characters, and I'm very much interested to hear your thoughts, specifically Kale and then and the introduction of Rowan as a love interest. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. But overall, I thought this book was a really great continuation of the plot. I'm really excited to see what happens in the next book. I feel like it's going to be a lot of transitioning to creating a kingdom, getting alliances, creating an army, and hopefully Manon moves to Terrasen, or wherever the heck it's called. I'm really excited about it. This series just continues to amaze me, and hopefully you guys loved it and liked it as much as I did, and I will see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!